Greetings, thank you for joining me today. Hope wherever you are, life is treating you well. Now, back once again, working on the bicycle. Let me turn the camera around so you can see. So, we've got some progress, as you can tell. Got the brakes fitted and trued up. Created the wheel, which turns smoothly without binding on the brakes. This is good. I have done the front wheel. Yes, I know it's a clutter. I'm working on it. Front wheel, also brakes set up, doesn't bind. It does stop properly. Yes, so that's the progress. So for the sake of expediency, I don't like to have a video that runs on too long. It doesn't tend to get as many views as the shorter videos, according to YouTube statistics anyway. So for this reason, you won't be treated to film of me truing lacing a wheel. Absolutely not, because there's better examples out there. Honestly, there are. I'd urge you to go look at those if you want to learn how to lace a wheel. You can do it, trust me, you can do it if you are able to use your hands properly and able to use your eyes. You'll be able to select the right parts and create your own custom bicycle wheel. You can do it, and there's plenty of guides out there, better people than me to look at. But suffice to say, these two wheels took me forever. I was forced to go with a slightly longer spoke for the back wheel than I would have liked. You just have to go with what's available. And so part of the process has been selecting different orientations for the spokes to get strength, obviously, and try and work with a slightly longer spoke than I need. So some finagling has been going on to get it to work, and we'll see whether it works for me or whether it leaves me with a punctured inner tube on the side of the road. Who knows? It'll be safe though. It'll be all right. The new disc brake system, that proved to be less of a pain to install than I thought it was going to be, which is pretty good. It's an AliExpress special, of course. But why spend more money than you need to, really? It's mechanical brakes rather than hydraulics, but again, why spend more money than you need to? This is a budget build after all, and I'm going to spend some time over the next day or so truing up the wheels so they run perfectly. They're still not quite there, and then I'm going to turn the same tools to the crankset to try and nudge some of the kinks out of the crankset. That crankset was attacked. It used to be on my first folding bike. It used to be on that, and it seemed to have taken some damage somewhere, maybe in shipping to me, or maybe somewhere when I was out and about, or maybe while it was parked in Birmingham. I'm not sure. All I know is that it was working fine when I got it, and then it stopped working and it started shedding the chain. And so I changed out the crankset, worked with another one on the first folder, which has been fine. I'm not chaining that out. But this one, I thought, I'll stick it on the shelf. I'll fix it later. So, working with a little tool that I've got that allows me to check whether a regular bicycle is running true. I'm going to try and use that to work out whether the crankset is running true as well, and ease some of the kinks out of it with a spanner or something. Let's see how we go. Yes, bodge job, I know, but why spend the money on a new crankset? I want to put a Bafang mid-mount motor on this eventually, and sooner rather than later, hopefully. So until that point, I'm going to get by with a simple recycled crankset. Now, it's not my imagination, is it? That crankset has taken a knock somehow, or maybe more than one knock, and it's not running true. This is why it sheds the chains. But it should be possible to bend it back into shape, I think, at least for a temporary fix for this. Anyway, it's not the only thing I've needed to adjust with a wrench. The back forks. The back forks were not quite wide enough for this hub, so I had to adjust them out just a smidgen. Again, I think this has taken a pounding. Someone's given it a right kicking, because I needed to get a wrench and clamp down on this and ease it out just a bit so as it would fit the wheel again. This is the correct spec wheel for this sort of bike. Maybe the hub is maybe larger than it needs to be, but I was so not buying one of those solid alloy wheels for this. I needed spokes. But yeah, I've adjusted this and on the other side just to make it slightly wider so it fits. Whether that will prove to have been a good thing to do remains to be seen, but you've got to take these choices, haven't you? What else? Of course, you'll recall I bought a third rim. Well, I built that into the spare wheel, built it the little hub into that one. I think it looks nice. This will be sitting as a spare on the shelf until I need it, either for this bike or for the other bike which takes the same size wheels. It just needs a tyre and inner tube, which will have to wait until funds allow. But I think it came together rather nice. That took me the better part of an afternoon to do. 95mm spokes, which, as I say, were right for this one, right for the front wheel, but not quite right for the back wheel. Needed shorter spokes on the back, but what are you going to do? You've got to make some design changes and accommodate, really. It's either that or wait for more spokes to come from your supplier in China. Okay, chains on. And I think I've got about the right tension, which is fine. And the front wheel turns and does not bind, which is fine. However, there is definitely a problem with the crank, because it is definitely bent, which may cause me problems. See if I can zoom in. Yep, definitely took a hit. This is quite close. This side, virtually touching, whereas this bit, miles away. So I could be wrong, but I think this side here is the bit where I'm going to adjust it outwards to make it equal all around. So after a brief ride, it was quite apparent on 2 occasions that the chain was not going to stay put, and no matter how much I tension it, it won't stay put because the suspension has just a little bit of play in the whole system, so when you go over a bump, the chain falls off. This meant I had to fit one of these, which is a chain tensioner. Well, I fitted it to the best of my abilities and I took it out for a ride, and it was okay to the top of my local hill, and then I turned around and came down again thinking I'd see how it goes, and at exactly the same point hit the bit of a bump in the road and the chain came off once again. So it's not the chain tension so much. I think what it is the size of the chain versus the cogs. When you look at it, that chain's just too wide. It's a single speed, but I might get better results with a thinner chain, honestly. Same applies at the front. There's an awful lot of wiggle room. And that is usually just enough to dislodge the chain when you drop the load. Well, it's quite late, so I guess that does it for me for today. Frustrating. I would have liked to have had this thing running properly and take it to work and back, but it seems it's going to take a little more work to get there. Not to worry. Tomorrow I might be off to the bicycle shop. I'm not going online for this. Another chain, a thinner chain this time round, one that will better fit those cogs. With that in place, with an appropriate chain tensioner, and it might need to be a modified derailleur system to do that. With a standard derailleur chain and a derailleur system just modified to be in a fixed place, I might get it to stay put. That's how I've worked it in the past. When I first implemented the Bafang mid-mount motor system on a bicycle that's long gone, a frame that's long gone, the only way I managed to make it work, to make the chain stay put, was to have a fixed derailleur fixed in one position with a bit of adjustable cable. It does work. It's a bit Heath Robinson, but it gets the work done. So we'll have to see. It requires a little bit of messing around, and that's just to get used to this. It is a great bike when you're rolling, though. The suspension is so good. You don't notice any of the bumps until the chain falls off. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a great day. See you soon, and bye for now.